How do you know what you know? How do you come to truth and to realization? There are two ways of knowing. And I'm assuming that you live in the Western, modern, industrialized society. So we, within this system, are very well aware and familiar with the intellect, reason, ration, right? This has been praised as kind of the ultimate, the highest way of knowing, the greatest form of knowledge. And no doubt it is. It's incredible. It's wonderful. And where that type of knowing has taken us as people, as a society, has so many benefits. But it is to the detriment of ourselves that we have neglected, we have shunned, we have not cultivated the other equally more important way of knowing, which is through intuition. That intuitive sense, that gut feeling, that heart sense, which is no less valid just because we favor one over the other. It's that whole analogy of the two wings of the bird, or your two eyes to see, or the left and the right hemispheres of the brain, however you want to interpret it. We all have that inner knowing, that inner faculty. And if you're agreeing with me, it is that part of you that knows this is true, what I'm saying is true. And for myself, as I've delved into various different disciplines throughout my life, studying music, great example, right? I'm sure you knew someone growing up who was learning piano, right? Classically trained, could play beautiful, oftentimes very complex music, usually from sheet music. I always admired people like that. I was like, wow, that's incredible. You know, the piano recitals, the this, the that. And on the other end of the spectrum, you had people who were intuitive musicians, right? Playing by ear, playing by heart, playing by feel. They couldn't read music, they couldn't write music, but damn, they could sure play music, right? Just the same as oftentimes I noticed those who kind of took that intellectual approach, you know, reading music, sheet music, would often have a hard time improvising, just the same as the improviser would have an almost impossible time trying to play sheet music. Now, those are just two different extremes, two different approaches. Neither one is inherently better or right or wrong. It's just a different approach. And now with music, though for myself, I started off on more the kind of self-taught intuitive path, playing by ear, playing by heart. I later then developed my abilities to read and write music, to understand the structure, to understand intellectually how music came together. To the point where it was almost a bit of a pendulum swing, where I began to lose connection with the heart, the soul of music, shall we say. And it took some effort to kind of bring that back. And the medium that I studied most, which I admire most within music, is jazz, because it brings together those two forms of music, of ways of being, the intuitive along with the kind of intellectual, rational mind. Jazz musicians are incredible. They play some of the most complex music. The beginning of the song is called the head, and it's got your chord changes. It outlines the structure and the form of the song. It can be very, very, very complex. And then as soon as that intro, that head is done, boom, it's straight into solos, and you have some of the most complex music being created spontaneously from the heart, not being thought about. It's in the muscle memory. It's in that pure creative expression, the magic. And to me, I think that is the ultimate musician. That is the ultimate human. The ultimate way of being is if you can marry both those sides, if you can have that intellectual capacity to think, to reason, to develop logic, but not get lost so far down that road, still be able to listen to the soft whispering of your heart, to be able to feel into situations and just know, right? And in some sense, that's almost how the greatest science works, right? Science begins with a hypothesis. I think, I feel it could be this way, and then you kind of reason it out, logic it out, and you bring those two worlds together. Food and nutrition have been exactly the same way for me as well. There's been times in learning both, right, where I've gotten way too intellectual about it, breaking food down into, its kind of macro and micronutrients, and becomes this whole intellectual exercise, which was a good path to go down and to learn, but I lost my way in terms of just listening to my body, right? What do I feel like eating? Getting into my heart space, getting into a place of gratitude, and just enjoying the food without over intellectualizing, analyzing it. Can you relate to any of those analogies? What in your life can you see where that is the dynamic of the human, as blessed as we are to have these two types of faculties, these two capacities? And I think that's super relevant and important in today's day and age, to be able to feel into what is going on. What does your heart say is right? What does your heart say is true? But also to be able to sort through the science, look at the logic, look at the reason, and bring those two together in some sort of harmony. Anyways, that's what I'm striving for in all ways in life, is the marriage of those two ways of knowing. How about you? Let me know.